NPBF coaches, fans, New Frontier, if we're still a part of you, whoever has stumbled onto this, and the two who are arguing over custody of this man, welcome to what is one of the final NPBF coach interviews for preseason 16. The man I'm joined with today needs no introduction, but we'll do it anyway. He's a four-time champion, a commissioner, and possibly Gab's baby mama. I don't know.
What's up?
Yes.
How's it going?
We're joined by Renny of the LA Darkrais today.
Yeah, right before gas, so thank God, thankfully.
Can only imagine what would have happened if we got both of you on at once.
Too chaotic, man. Too chaotic.
Yeah.
I don't even think I would be able to say anything. It would just be him just like spurting perverted gibberish. I don't know.
Yeah.
That guy keeps me up at night.
I am not surprised. I bet it haunts you seeing him tell people to send a showdown challenge to Renny's baby daddy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like half the time I'm on Discord, I'm looking at like these battles or I'm scanning through them, and I see my name pop up, and a lot of times I confuse it for my own battle, and he's been doing this for years now, so I'm surprised he's really not in D-League. He belongs in D-League, and I've told him this before, but like he's like he's like cockroaches, like like they survive everything. Yeah. So Gav is like he's gonna kill me, but yeah, he's like a cockroach.
He's good enough to not be in D-League. He just doesn't put the effort to not be in D-League.
That's the thing. When he actually puts the effort and like he just plays, and Gav isn't a prepper. Like he can't prep. If he preps, he loses. But like if he plays the same team over and over again, for some weird reason, he'll start winning. And he's done that in the past. Like he's consistently made playoffs in the past. He's won a lot of games in the past. So
yeah, I mean,
who knows? We'll see.
I remember the first season that I played with him. The first Gen 8 season was before he really leaned into this meme that he's become, where like he shit until he's in danger of playoffs, and I mean not playoffs, D-League, and then he like actually tries.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like the first time I played him in Gen 8 was when he was still doing like mainly just using the same 4 Pokemon. That was one of the hardest games I had, and I lost.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, and he's done it. The first season that we both came here, I think he came here first, and then he tapped me in, and he went 14-2. That's when we had the 16-game seasons. It was me, him, and Jeff, and some other guy. I don't remember his name, but we went 14-2. So like the top four players, had tying records, and it was wild. And Gab made it to finals, and I beat him in finals. But he essentially played the same team the entire tournament, and he had Chansey as a kill leader, which is I don't know, it was weird as fuck. Like,
this is that season,
bro,
okay.
That season was chaotic because it was just like Gav just showed up every time, and he had Landorus and Gyarados, but it wasn't Landorus and Gyarados that beat you. It was Chansey and Dusclops. Yeah. That's primetime Gav, bro.
I love that. That's amazing. I was just telling Steven all of this earlier.
Yeah.
So the last time me and Jeff were in a call on this channel, it was getting ready for season 15 playoffs. I don't remember if you still had one more game left, or if you like we'd already done, but you were getting ready for that for round 1 of playoffs.
Yeah, I was getting ready for round 1, third matchup with Liam that season. So that was fun. I mean, obviously Liam won the entire tournament. So, and like none of us are really surprised because he also played his ass off. He made a lot of smart moves, and I credit Gav to him just winning the season, part of it, because he literally dropped Chansey, and like because of that, and then it's part of it's because of you too, because you beat him, and then he's like, all right, I got to redo my team. It's like, well, if that didn't happen, it's like a butterfly effect. If that didn't
Yeah,
happen, maybe
yeah. If
Liam
I don't beat
wouldn't
him
change his
and he
team.
doesn't change his team, he doesn't draft Sableye Chansey.
Right, yeah, and honestly, it wasn't even that, like, for Liam's team, it wasn't Sableye Chansey that beat you. Honestly, yeah, like, that core won a couple of games if you really looked at, like, how his games went. But what really beat you was the Darmanitan and, like, his offensive guys. And
Yeah.
it's because of the defensive pressure, like, he puts on, like, a team. Because if you don't have a hyper-offensive team, or even, like, a team that has win conditions to set up against, like, Liam's team, you're not going to win the game. Like, it's really, really hard. So with Liam's team, what it really did very well was it set up a lot of defensive pressure, and it chip away at you. So like, because of that, he was able to just like throw in his guys and just like, click flare blitz on Darmanitan for the next 6 turns in a row and win the game.
Yeah.
That's essentially what he did, and like he did it really well. And part of playing that team was figuring out when's the right time to do that. Because once you scarf Darmanitan and then you're outspeeding pretty much your opponent's entire team, like Darm hits like a freaking truck, like flare blitz, that shit hits bad. So he did that really well, and I mean, kudos to him. He's a solid performer.
And once again, we let him get Darmanitan.
Yeah, yeah. I do think it'll be not that Darm isn't a good mon. Darm is a great mon. I think it will just be less effective this season. I think a lot of things are going to be less effective only because there's literally every mon that we could use now. So
That's fair. Before we move on to season 16, I'm curious, because you had a lot of weird stuff in your season 15 team. I think weird stuff. Weird for what I'm used to from a Renny-based team. Would you say that team was kind of like, not so much out of your
yeah,
comfort
man.
zone, because it wasn't really, but like, it definitely felt like it was you, like, stretching out a little bit and really trying to do some new things.
Dude, yeah, it was like, you know what it was? It was definitely an outlier for all 10 seasons. That was the 10th season I played for this league.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was the most like weirdest team. It was definitely an outlier, but I think the reason why was because like in the previous interview I had, most of my competitive start came from that gen. So because of that, I was literally just rotating certain 9 Pokemon. You know what I mean? Like T-Flame, Scizor, Rotom. Like that was when Rotom was like OU, and I was so used to all these OU guys, and trying to draft a team where a lot of other people are picking what you want to draft as well. It's very like it's not even about sniping. It's just there's just not enough mods to go around. So because of that, like I wasn't really familiar with the draft format for Gen 6. It was more like Smogon, like OU type of laddering. So Gen 6 draft it was extremely interesting because I found myself having to play like the lower tier guys, and I just wasn't used to it because Gen 6 is like it's where a lot of people got their start and stuff from too. So
Yeah.
it was very familiar for a lot of people, and I think because of that I was playing mons that I just wouldn't draft. Like you're not gonna see me draft certain guys like as well as Gudra did. I really don't think it's a great mon out there compared to like what's around now. But for that generation, it was one of the best.
Yeah.
So it really depends on generations and how well it goes. But yeah, that was definitely an outlier team. That team was it was weird, but it was also a very interesting team too because
It
it had a
was.
lot of goals.
It got results.
Yeah, it had
like the little, like
for sure.
the mini rain core, and then the bulk with like Gudra, Granbull, and then you had Talonflame, Mega Scizor.
Yeah, that it was it was very it was like a lot of defensive like offense it was a lot of fat offense basically. Like
Yeah, yeah,
defensive
very
offense.
bulky
Yeah.
offensive team.
Yeah, outside
Same
of
as we
Weavile
all.
and
Yeah, and
Seaflame.
we forgot
Yeah.
you had Weavile too.
Yeah, I actually didn't even use it towards the end of the season because it just Weavile's another guy like I really don't usually use it. It's a very one-dimensional mon
Yeah,
that plays very well, and what baffles me is like how it manages to sneak in like the OU format for like almost weird because I think it's so frail. Like you
You
can't touch
can't.
it. Yeah, and it's like one dimensional. And usually whenever I play against Weavile, I just whatever has bullet punch on my team, that's what's gonna hit it because you
Yeah.
don't need anything else to hit it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Completely for sure. So going into season 16, since I mean you saw success with this team, we know you did. You were
hmm
just in one of the toughest divisions last season, and then you had the
hmm
misfortune of having to play Liam 3 different times. So I think if that hadn't happened, you might have gone further, or not even might. I think you
Yeah,
would
and
have. I think you would have gone further if you didn't have that working against you.
yeah, I was even telling I think I was telling James like if that game if that game went south and I ended up being Liam and I thought I had a really good shot. The reason why I lost is he saw the opening for the Darm
Yeah,
because if you watch that game I was it's not that I was in control. It was going very back and forth, and then I had the physical Toad that he didn't expect. And if he didn't go Darm, I think if he went anything else besides Darm, I might have played it through. Like the game would have stretched out longer. Like I'm not saying I would
yeah,
have won because there was a lot left to play. And
but
like
it
I
would
was
have.
in no position. Yeah, like I was in no position to win that game yet. But the game would have stretched out longer. And then if I had won, I might have been able. I think I would have had a really good chance. Like I was confident. I was talking to James. I was like, I was really confident. If I beat Liam, I might have maybe won the championship. Only because I would have played Jeff. And like straight up, like Jeff's a really, really good player. Like we always clash, but when it came to like that team's matchup, my team had a really, really good matchup.
Oh
And
yeah,
like
yeah.
we
We
played,
saw it.
like we played that season, and like I've had things that season, like for that particular game that I didn't bring against them that main season. So it would have been tough, and like I'm not saying I would have beaten them, but I would have been extremely confident.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
but then again, like the game we play, it's like Deshaun described it. I think it's chess with like hacks. So
yeah. It is.
yeah, for sure, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad Liam won though, and I'm glad it was against Jason because that division, like to see those two guys in our division just make it to finals, and Jason just climbing out of the hellhole and catapult all the way to finals, and Liam just doing it again. Like
Yeah,
I was very happy. Those guys, they really do deserve it.
they did.
They're
They
very
did.
nice guys.
They definitely did. I'm
Yeah.
certainly happy for Liam. I'm surprised. I'm really surprised it took this long. So
Yeah, I mean, everyone here right now is a really, really good battler, but Liam's been like, since he's been here, he's been just wrecking everything, dominating everything, and such a good player, and he's an even better guy, so,
yeah,
you
we
know.
could honestly probably say he's Renny Jr.
You think so?
Just the dominance he
Maybe.
has, the dominance he has. I think if there's anyone who's likely to get a second title soon, like the first to make it to like get a second title again, it's honestly probably him.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's on a hot streak so far, so hopefully. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, granted that race is between right now. It's between me, him, and Jesse, but like
Yeah, yeah.
it's not a tight race.
I mean, this season it might be a tight race. You never know.
Yeah.
You might look back at this after week 12, and you guys
So
might have the same record, so.
yeah. So what I'm curious though is we're talking about that team. So going into season 16, what kind of mindset did you have with like what you wanted to draft? I'm curious if like you took any positives or negatives of your 15 experience and if that shaped what you wanted going into this season.
Yeah, so honestly, like I didn't really take anything positive or negative away. It was just to me, it was that season. You can't really look at like you can look at your losses and take them as a negative, but when you're dealing with Gen 6 and like a gen that happened, 6, 7 years ago, we're not going back to it. So it's like it's kind of hard to look at things as negative and positive because you're just not going to play that gen again, for now at least. And then I was happy the way it ended. Like obviously I was the first round exit, but Liam beat me. Good on him, and that was great. For the wins that I did have, those wins were it. I guess it reminded me how good the team was. But for like positive and negatives, I didn't really take much away. It was mainly me like looking forward to like, all right, now it's time for, everything is like nat decks. So we're doing the Dynamax, the Z moves, the Megas, and with that's more of like a holistic approach because everything becomes good, right? And I was I was thinking about this way before the draft and when we were even doing the drafting and tiering the mons together. It's kind of hard to have a really bad team. Like you kind of have to try to have a really bad team. Like if you take the approach where you're drafting and you just draft by type, so like you draft like, all right, I have a fire type, I'm gonna go for a water type next, a grass type. Like, you know what I mean? If you
It's
if you just
funny you
take
said
that
that
approach,
because that's literally what Steven was saying and saying you should absolutely not do.
exactly. You like here's the thing. Like so what I'm getting at is like if you take that approach, your team is gonna be at the very least, your team's gonna be good at the very least. But like it's not gonna be great, and that's what I'm saying. Like it's very hard to draft a very bad team. But to make a
Yeah.
great team, you shouldn't take that approach. So like that approach, it doesn't work. It will never work. So like going into this, like I knew everybody was gonna have at least somewhat of a good team because it's very hard to draft really badly because there's so much available. Like if you get sniped for like if Rotom's not there, if you get sniped for Rotom, you could get Empoleon. They don't do almost exactly the same thing, but like they're both water. They both have defog.
They're both bulky.
Exactly. Like they could to some extent they're interchangeable.
Yeah.
Same thing with like a lot of electric types. Like same thing with every mon. Basically, the combos are there. Like Deshaun Palucha, Rillaboom combo. You could pair that up with literally like what's another like two type Pokemon combo. It's like it just happens. Slurpuff on Burden. Like a lot of these guys could just sweep. A lot of these guys counter properly. So going into the season, I was like, drafting. I wasn't worried because I knew what's available. I would get somewhat of a great team. Because if I just draft for half a brain, I'll have an okay team, a great team. But then when I saw my draft order, I think it was I was like number 14 or something. I was pretty much
I
down
think you
the
were
list.
13 or something.
Yeah. So
13, 14.
I was like, all right, like, yeah. So I was like, all right, it's probably not a good idea to plan because a lot of times, like, I'll plan my first two picks and then like one of them's gonna get taken and you kind of have to change around your top pick afterwards.
Yeah.
So going up to it, like, dude, like you were there. I was talking to you the entire draft. I got sniped literally every round all the way up until like 6 when I was like, all right, like I'm just gonna stop trying to even think about stuff. I'm just gonna not look at my phone and then I'm just gonna wait until it's my turn and just look what's there because it's like I'm planning these guys to draft and I'm just watching them get sniped one by one.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, that was pretty tough. That was pretty weird. But
I think that's what you got to do
but
though, especially when you're low.
yeah, and that was also the approach where I went where like I was like, all right, like try to find the interchangeable guys. So like I think my first round pick was Ferrothorn.
Yes, it was.
To be honest, I only picked it because it was great value for tier 2. Like it's to me, I personally believe it should be tier 1. It's been an OU since since its inception. It's been an OU, so to have an OU guy in tier 2, it's I think it was a great pick for tier 1. And then my next pick was either Feeney. It was gonna be Feeney, and then Jason took him. So, yeah, and I was like, ah, shit. So I was like, all right, I'll go with Rotom because to some extent Rotom could do what Feeney does. Feeney does it better, but Rotom also has some
it pairs
some
well
type
with Ferrothorn. It's a very very great core to have.
Yeah, exactly. It's a simple core too. It's been around since both of them since I think Gen 6 or Gen 5 or something like that. But it's
Gen 5, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that was my approach to drafting. But like you were saying, what Steven said, drafting by types it's not a very bad thing to do, but it's a very safe thing to do. But it also like it doesn't work. Like you have to draft by like the way a team will work, right? You have to draft.
You need synergy.
Exactly. You need that. If you don't have that, your team's not gonna work. Like you could like for my team, right? I I don't have a dark type, but like, do I need a dark type? I really don't, because like you always don't need like you know how like there are these rules for drafting, like you need a fairy type, you need a steel type.
fire, water, grass, all that
Yeah.
stuff.
So like, yeah, exactly. Like those rules, it's really I don't believe in those rules, and like the reason why is because if you can only take 6 months per game. You know what I mean? Like out of the 11, I'm taking roughly 45% of the guys I have on my roster. So you can't take everybody, right? And you can't prep for everything your opponent has either. So a lot of the game of like playing the game of Pokemon, it starts before you even start battling. It starts when you're prepping. So, and it's like you're predicting what your opponent is going to bring and, what sets they're going to have as well. And like, that's when the game really starts. So the game starts before the game even starts. Yeah. So because of that, like you can't just draft by type. Like you have to draft by stats as well. Stats, movesets, and then what's just gonna work. Like Rotom, like personally, I like having a slow Mon that pivots out, because what that tells me is like I usually don't invest speed in my Rotom, only because I like being the last one to leave the field.
Mm-hmm.
Because Rotom's going to take a hit, and then you both switch out, and then you gain momentum off of that, because then you get to choose what you want to bring in on a free switch, essentially.
Oh,
so, yeah, so that's why I think Rotom was a good pick for over the Feeny, but it's also like you said, it's also about synergy and just what works and what doesn't, and just being able to to comb that out and think about it.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways I like Rotom better anyway, just because, I don't know, I feel like you can do a little bit more with Rotom than you can with Feeny, right?
No, for sure. And then, like, that's why I always had a Rotom on my team, whether it's Heat or Wash. The reason why is, and I've spoken to James about this too, like, I draft mainly based on versatility.
Mm-hmm.
So Rotom's very it's as versatile as it comes. Like maybe the only Mon that's more versatile than it's probably like Mew, because Mew literally knows everything. But with Rotom you could play offensively, defensively, a fast, bulky guy. And the same goes for a lot of my team. Again, I don't I really don't want to talk about my team, only because
that's totally fair.
I just don't want to talk about it. But you could even it's not like it's anything that no one really knows. It's just the team's very versatile, and I could bring a lot of things, and that's the thing. That's the same said for a lot of these guys. But when it comes down to I guess not decks,
mm-hmm.
you have to draft versatility, because if you don't, your team's not going to be able to handle everything. And granted, no team's going to be able to handle everything that comes at it. But if you can handle 70-80% of everybody else's teams, you have a fair shot, because then there's also pairing and who you play against and whatnot. So with the right pairing and the right mons, it's very feasible to go all the way with a versatile team.
It makes sense to me. I mean, I mean, admittedly, I kind of did the same thing with a lot of my stuff with wanting versatility, but
yeah,
I mean, there's a reason people do that. You do that because versatility is good in drafts, so you don't get pigeonholed, and I think that's something that your teams have done well with in the past.
Yeah, for sure. That's the reason why I guess I've had so much success. Is because I'm able to play very, very offensive one week where I'll probably choice ban 3 guys, and I've done that before. I've played 3 choice items, and then the next week I'll just take it slow and just give everybody leftovers or something. So it all depends on how you think the games are going to drag out, whether you think the games are going to be less than 20 turns or more than 40 turns or whatever. So
yeah, just depends on who you're playing against.
Yeah, exactly. If I'm playing against Liam, I'm probably going to give everything a leftover, because
you need to.
He has that slow bro. Well, actually, no. Well, last season, if I was playing against Liam, I probably would have given everything leftovers, because he was playing Stall. And against that, you're not going to have the game under 30 turns. He did because of the Barn, and I think the Zolteon. But like, in general, like when you're playing against bulkier guys, I usually go for longevity. So I
Hmm.
usually go to stay in the game. But if I'm looking at my opponent's team, like they're playing like fast monster hitting hard, then that the game's probably gonna last less than 30 turns. So
Yeah, I think that's a good approach to take.
yeah,
Um,
it's a lot that like goes into it too. And like I said, the game starts before it starts.
it
So
does.
it's
It
yeah.
100% does. It 100% does. So I totally respect that you don't want to talk about your team. That's totally valid. So what I'm curious about, now actually, this is what so before we started this, I said that I think everyone has been, well, I don't know if everyone, but people have been anticipating this interview. And this
Yeah.
question is the reason why. I'm curious what you think about the other teams. Are there teams that you like that you wouldn't mind getting a hand at using? Are there teams that you don't like that you don't think are too great? I'm curious what you think about the other teams that got drafted.
Uh, so I mean, like I said, right off the bat, like I'm gonna give you the boring answer first, and then I'll give you
Of
the juicy
course.
answer afterwards. So right off the bat, like I said, it's very hard to have a bad team. With so many like options available, it's easier to fill the hole than it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, even 1 year ago. Especially compared to Gen 6, because Gen 6 was like the first 4 rounds of drafting. That's really what your team's going to be.
Yeah.
So the next 5, 6, it doesn't really matter because those 6 are playing for those 4. But with this draft, it's weird because now we have Dynamax coming in, we have Megas, and we have the Crystals. And those 3 right there, they're game changers. And I know Z Crystals get a lot of hate, but it's a game changer because
It
you
is.
have to look at it as a 5th move. And a lot of mons suffer from like the 4-move syndrome slot, 4-slot syndrome, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And because of that, like Z moves, it just adds that extra move, and that really helps a lot. So with that in mind, I mean, I'm looking at these teams. Like a lot of these teams are good, but going back to like versatility, like a lot of them are not really versatile. And because of that, like I'm not saying like I could beat you because of that. I'm saying you're more predictable.
Yes.
So like, and I was looking at the team. And I think the 2 best teams like in this draft so far. Well, not the 2 best teams. One of the 2 best teams, and mainly just one of the 2 teams I looked at. Like I haven't really looked at like 10 teams. I've only really looked at like 6.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've only looked at like Liam's and Jason's because they're kind of next to my name on the
Of
roster. I know
course.
that's a very poor.
Well,
It's a very poor excuse, but
you
like,
know what? The other excuse could just be, they winner and runner up. They're the guys to
yeah,
beat.
yeah, yeah,
They're the guys to beat this
yeah,
season.
yeah. Yeah, no, I was looking at their team because, like, literally when I was drafting too, they went after me. So I was monitoring what they were drafting because I kind of had to see what was going to be sniped and what wasn't. Um, so they're both a really, really good team, but, like, their teams are not versatile. Like, and I don't mean to pick apart anybody's team, but, like for Jason's team, right, he has, like, Feeny, Cinderace, Tangrowth, Lycanroc, Mesprit, Substrika, Megalopony, Scizor, Mandibuzz, Lando, and Dusknoir. Like, most of those sets, like the Feeny sets are going to be defensive. The Cinderace sets are either going to be heavy-duty boots with U-turn. Tangrout's going to be, defensive regenerator. Lycanroc Dust is going to be Life Orb, maybe Band or something, or Sash. Mesprit's weird because that one's versatile. You could play really anything.
Oh yeah.
Substrika's actually a really, really good pick. Like, this is going to be my max pick, and I didn't want to tell anybody this only because I didn't want to get sniped. And then I saw that Jason picked it, like, I think, like, around 3 or 4, and I was like, fuck, bro. Like, because it gets Airstream, and it also gets the fighting move, so it gains attack as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, what's happening with that. Megalopony is physical. Scizor is going to be physical, mainly defensive, physical. One hidden power fire, one fire type special defensive move, and it's dead. Mandibuzz is going to be defensive. Lando's going to be offensive because I don't think it could be defensive without Intimidate. and Dusnor is just going to be, bulky offense. So it's like his team's really good, and believe me, it's going to work. And he actually has one of the better teams because he doesn't really have a lot of typing weaknesses. And his team's actually it's pretty fast. Lopini, Cinderace, Substrika especially after Airstream, Scizor has priority Banded, Bullet Punch will hit like a truck. But in terms of versatility, you kind of know what he's gonna bring. The moment you see his team on the preview, you know what
the set is.
You know what's set, or not you won't know what's set, but you'll know what it does or what it's supposed to do. And then within the first 10 turns of just playing and switching around and whatnot, you'll know what his items are. And then that's really where it comes down to versatility, because for this, for Mew, for example, right? You could play you could play Will-O-Wisp, or let's say you have Toxic, right? Toxic is more general. You could Toxic everything your opponent has, and if you Toxic something, a lot of times what they'll do is they'll switch out, go into something else, maybe a Steel type or something to avoid the Toxic. But later on that game, you could go Swords Dance and then start sweeping with a physical move or something. You know what I mean? And that's the thing I like about Mew, because it's so versatile. You could do whatever. Same thing with Landorus T. You could play it defensively, you could play offensively, play Scarf. So going back to that, Jason's team is very good. I just don't think it's a versatile team.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not to say it's a bad team either. I'm not saying you need versatility to win games. You need versatility to go far. You really don't. But that's just the way I draft my teams. And it's, again, I'm not saying my way is better than anybody's way, because it's really not. These guys are they know what they're doing. They have their own mindset, and it's working for them, obviously. But for a team that I would probably take Ant's team. His team's actually really. Yeah, his team is really, really good, man. It looks... Yeah, if you really look at it and you think about what it could do, he has that fairy dragon steel core. But, outside of that, if you take that apart, he could still do a lot of damage even without that core. And then his Dynamax guy, the barrel, I know it gets laughed around a lot, but it's actually pretty good, because it's all fun and games until, you get Airstream and then Simple activates, and then, you're looking at a +2 attack, a +2 speed, the barrel that's going to waterfall your ass in the rain, especially if it uses the Dynamax water move. So, Ant team's really good. And then, a lot of these teams are really good, like I said, but I think the best team-wise and not skill-wise, because, again, a lot of these guys have a lot of skills. Teams that I think are going to go really far this season, Jesse's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Ant's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just glancing over this, I'm speed scrolling. I like your team, because I like that Altaria Corviknight combo. Liam's team is gonna go far. And a lot of these teams are again, all these teams also have potential. And we've been beating a dead horse since you started these interviews. No one can really tell who's gonna win what, right?
Oh, yeah.
You can't say Renny's gonna go X and 2 or something, or Alex is gonna go undefeated. We won't know. We can't tell until week 12.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's one of the great things, because we've came far. Because in past seasons, I'll draft a team, and a lot of times I'll draft a really good team. I could probably go X2, X1, and it'll happen. I'll go X2, I'll go X1, I'll make it to semis, or I'll make it to finals, or whatever. And I could usually tell just straight off the bat because of the team I drafted and my matchups. But now I just can't do it, because it's everyone has a good team. At the very least, everyone has a good team. Some people have great teams, some people have excellent teams. So
yeah,
we'll see.
All right, so that's enough about like teams. Let's look at the actual games themselves. You've taken a look at your division, I assume, yes?
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on your specific division?
It's a tough division, man. It's gonna be tough. Deshaun, he's had really, really good seasons, past couple seasons, and he's definitely I can't really say enough about this guy.
I mean,
The
some
season that
people
he had
could
last
say
season.
last season should have been his season to win.
I agree. I holistically agree. It should have been either you or him. Because you guys just played your ass off. You prepped every game and just played very well. And I mean, Deshaun, if you're listening, great valor, man. I really hope you don't, throw in the hat at the end of the season.
Yeah,
Um,
I hope so.
I I really hope he doesn't. But Day's Day, he's a really good player. Eric is very interesting because Eric drafted really well.
Yeah, he did.
And he does have that Dragapult, clef combo. Mega Manectric is actually such an underrated Mega Man.
Oh,
Like
I agree with
my
you.
first season, yeah, like it's definitely. I was actually going to pick it at some point, but I got sniped a lot, and like it just worked out that I would be able to grab Charizard X.
Yeah.
Um, but Manectric is it's really good because like it's so quick, and you're not even like using Manectric for its attacking. You're mainly using it for Intimidate and the trip damage. Like a lot of times, like whenever I played it, at least like 80% of the time, I'm just clicking Volt Switch, and
Oh
that's
yeah.
it. Like I'll bring it on against something physical. It'll take the hit, click Volt Switch, get out of there, bring in something else, and that's really it's rinse and repeat with Manectric, and it's such a good combo because he also has like he has the Toxapex and the Hippowdon. So like that defensive core too, it's not easy to beat.
No.
Um, Yeah, and like if you're thinking like, oh, I'm just gonna Swords Dance and try to kill it or something, it's there's Manectric, there's Dragapult to just induce pressure. There's Prankster Clef Key. So Eric he has a lot going for him, and I think what it's gonna come down to, and a lot of these games are gonna come down to this. It's gonna be prep. It's gonna be like what he brings versus what I bring, and
Oh yeah.
it's not gonna be it's not gonna be solely based on like who plays what. It's
Yeah, it's gonna be
or
what
like
comes.
exactly, yeah. Eric's really good. And then the last guy, I know it was supposed to be DK, but Callum.
Yeah, Callum.
Yeah, so I actually have no idea. I mean, obviously he's good
Yeah,
if he's in A League.
he was the
So
third. He came in. I think in playoffs in D League he came in third place, and
hmm
for the regular season he came in second just behind BK.
hmm yeah. I mean, looking forward to playing against him as well. His team is seems very interesting actually. Mega Swampert. Is he running?
He's got Pelipper, so he has Rain,
Okay, yeah, I
and
see
he's
it.
got
So yeah, he's running that.
T-Tar, and
Yeah, so he really has a lot of options too. Like, I mean, all he has to do is like pick up like a random Sand Rush guy or something, and he'll have dual leather.
yeah, I mean,
But
Sand Slash is right there.
yeah, and yeah, I think his team's actually really good too. It looks like a problem, but again, all these teams are problems. And then his team is actually right next to Jeff's team, so Jeff's team's actually Jeff low key drafted like a defensive team. It's gonna be
Yeah,
hard because the first
he,
three like Celesteela, Milotic, Forges, Confan. I mean, god damn it, Jeff.
I just hope he's gonna be able to fire back.
Yeah, no, he will be for sure. But yeah, I mean, outside of division games, those games are gonna be tough. And then I think I play Quinton.
You do play. I
He's
think
really
you
good.
do play Quentin. I looked at it with
Yeah,
him.
hmm yeah, I do play him. Do we play this?
We play. I know we play.
We play?
I know you and I do. I'm 99% sure. I just need to find it. Yeah, week 9.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, hard season. But the games I'm looking forward to the most, it would be you. Only because the past few times we played, those games like always came up to the wire. It was
They did.
and there was always something going for it. It was always something on the line, and I'm sure this is gonna have a lot of playoff implications.
Oh, it
Especially, are we in
will.
the same conference? I mean, even
No,
if we're not in the
we're
same
not in the
conference,
same conference. This is just we just happen to get matched up.
okay. So yeah, like that game's gonna have a lot of implications with it being so late.
Yeah.
And I think another game that's gonna have a lot. Um, it's gonna be the last game against Deshaun
Yeah,
because
that's gonna be a big game. That's gonna have
yeah,
that might have implications for you.
all of the Week 12 games, I think they're all really gonna have a lot of implications. And I see I play Shawnee. His team's actually his team's interesting. I was looking at his video earlier. Well, listening to his interview earlier, and where is it? Yeah, like Mega Medicham, Arcanine, Karam. He reminds me of what they played last season.
It kind of
His team,
is.
yeah, like it screams it screams aggression. Zahora, fucking Miltank. So
Didn't he
his
get Vaporeon too?
Porygon too.
No, Vaporeon, like, as well.
Vaporeon.
No, he didn't. Somebody did. No, Johnny has a Rakuten. Oh, shit, that might be worse.
Yeah, yeah. Moongus, Togekiss, Moongus and Togekiss by themselves. Like
That's actually
you
pretty
don't.
bad. Holy shit, Vaporeon didn't get
Yeah,
drafted. That's actually really good to know.
yeah, and an Arcanine could be any set he wants.
Yeah.
I think Aurora, he could actually play it special too, right? I don't know the stats off my head.
I don't know it's stats off the top of my head either, but let's check because I'm curious.
Yeah,
Zara, Aura, Zara,
but
Aura.
yeah, he can also play it special if he does want to. Yeah.
You probably can. You never
Yeah, he
see
definitely
it.
can.
You just
You
never
never
see it.
exactly. That's the thing. Like it gets Volt Switch. It gets
Oh shit! That
it gets
special attack
Thunderbolt.
stat is way closer to its physical stack to stat than I thought.
It gets exactly. It gets Calm Mind. It gets Calm Mind. It gets Focus Blast. So with Hidden Power, Calm Mind, Focus Blast. I mean, come on. Like it might actually. It's gonna make a lot of sense to play this
Yeah.
special, and or maybe like sub Calm Mind or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like so, Shawnee's team is like I hate to keep jumping back and forth with teams and teams, but like again, I haven't really looked at everybody's teams yet.
No, yeah, for sure.
So this is the first I'm looking at his team, and like I said, like a lot of the teams are really good, and he has an excellent team. So looking forward to him playing against him as well. I don't think I've played against him before, but yeah, in terms of like the one person I'm looking forward to playing against, it would be you only because it's so fun, and the games always come down to like the wire. So
Yeah, because when was we haven't played since the summer of last year.
yeah.
Yeah. And then before that, I'm pretty sure we didn't. It had been a year before that. It had been almost a year since we'd played before that.
Mhm.
So we're about
Yeah.
due for another game.
Yeah, for sure.
Although I will
And
tell you, finish your thought. I'm pulling something up on Showdown because I actually still have the team that I was building for you if we got to meet in playoffs.
oh yeah,
Yeah, I still have it. I just need to find it.
all right.
But finish your thought because I'm curious.
Yeah, I kind of forgot what I was going to
That's
say, but
cool.
I don't think it was anything. I
It's
don't think it was
cool.
anything important.
All right. So I only have one thing to tell you about. But I was obviously, you had Talonflame last season, very scared.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very scared of Talonflame. Two of my biggest offensive threats were weak. Three of my big offensive threats were weak to it. Roserade, Gallade, and Fernet. So I was definitely bringing Gyarados, but that's not what I was like, oh, I have to, go. I had to pull out some crazy shit with, Gallade, where it was like
Okay.
mixed attack and defense with its EVs leaning more towards defense, and then just running bulk up
Mm-hmm.
so that it could live the any Brave Bird from Talonflame and then hit back with a Zen Headbutt. Because I think that was the only way I could beat you, and even then, that wasn't guaranteed to work.
Really? I don't think... I'm trying to remember. I did have a plan for you. Okay, yeah. I remember against you, I was gonna do defensive Goodra because I wanted to get Gooey off.
Oh, that's smart.
T-Flame, yeah, T-Flame was going to come with... I think it was going to come with Sword Dance because my reasoning was, and I believe, I was expecting Gyarados, the defensive Gyarados, to come.
Of
So,
course.
like, for what I did, like, for a lot of teams that I played against that had, like, a defensive answer, like an Intimidate user for T-Flame was, I played Sword Dance, and then I'll U-turn out afterwards. I'll throw something in, and they'll switch out. So on the switch out, I'll use Sword Dance, and then once whatever they bring in, I'll usually U-turn out, and eventually, once you rinse and repeat, and you catch their defensive mon, and you kill it, and then they don't have anything else. That's when you just pressure everything with Sword Dance. So I probably would have brought Sword Dance. So that Gallade bulk up, it might have worked. It would have worked.
I was
If
calcing
I didn't
for
get...
Choice Band.
Okay, yeah, so it would have worked if Sword Dance didn't go off.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure it would have worked, because, like, I don't realistically see myself setting, or getting a turn to set up Sword Dance against you. At least not a free Sword Dance. Like,
No,
I'm sure I'll be taking... Yeah, I'm sure I would have been taking some type of damage. And again, I didn't run acrobatics.
Yeah.
I ran Brave Bird.
Yeah, because you got to.
Yeah.
That, and I think I was going to try to run counter Licky.
That would actually work. So Licky was one of my main concerns, because that thing is actually... The thing's fat. It's like Sticky Licky.
Yeah. There's a reason I brought him back this season. He's really good.
Dude, it does everything. Like it has a really, really good move pool. It does wish passing.
It can
It does
heal
everything.
well, it can toxic stall, you can make it bulky on either side.
Yeah, and I think I was doing superpower. That was what I did. I actually brought superpower on Mega Scissor a lot last season, so.
I mean, that's a good
But
bring.
yeah, it was a great bring, and it actually worked a lot. It worked out well against Jason, because essentially what I did was I maxed out. Well, I didn't even need to max out the defense. I'll just max out HP and like put in like, I think 212 defense, and it'll live a Fire Punch. Like Fire Punch would do like 70% to it or something. So like I'll live a Fire Punch, holistically.
Mm-hmm.
But then the second time we played, and this was the time he beat me, he crit my Scizor with the Fire Punch. So
yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So I can't really anticipate crits.
No.
So yeah, that didn't work out, because like usually like if I have Scizor out, I know the logical thing to do would take out your Lopunny, fake me out, and then go for Fire Punch, right? Because you're gonna get a good chunk off. But like once that happens, you're not living a superpower, and I don't even need to invest attack EVs into it, because it's just not gonna live it. And even if it does live it, after a Bullet Punch, it dies. So that was my reasoning for a lot of normal types. I forgot who had Snorlax. I think somebody had Snorlax.
Alan had Snorlax.
Alan has Snorlax? Okay. Yeah, and like, I was going to do that for like a lot of normal types. So I'm sure I would have played that same moveset for the Licky. Yeah, for sure I would have. But that game, I'm sure that game would have came out to the wire. I don't really...
Good one.
Yeah, I don't really remember what you had. But yeah, your team, I mean, last season was the best season you probably ever had during the main season. So.
Oh yeah, it was. It was. I'll never replicate that.
Never say never, man. You never know.
It's getting harder every season to replicate that. That's
yeah, no, for sure. I think the last season I really dominated. That was the season. Oh, that was the season Jesse won.
Oh
I went,
yeah,
and
you
I
were
was
on
actually
fire, and that was the last season we played.
yeah. That was the season. He literally like so okay. So like season before that, it all started the season before that in the semifinals. It was James's last season. James Howard,
Mm-hmm.
and we played in semifinals. And dude, I was hungover as fuck.
Oh my
And
god.
my weakness is like I'm usually, especially during the summertime, I'm usually just really hungover on a Sunday because like my life would get pretty busy on the weekends with like work and like
Yeah.
girlfriend and shit. So I was hungover as fuck that Sunday, and I didn't want to push the game. And I was like, all right, like we'll play. Let's just play later, and we played later in the day. And again, I'm not blaming on the hangover, but I was playing. We were playing, and I made a bunch of misplays.
Mm-hmm.
And then the game came down to Galarian Slowking, and he had 50% health, and I had Rotom Heat, right? And I like all I needed to do was just hit an overheat, and I missed the overheat. I missed the 90% overheat,
Oh my
bro.
god,
And
no.
that was the overheat. Like I hit that move, I'm in finals. You know what I mean? And Liam would have played against. He would have played against me instead of James. And that season too, that season actually beat Liam as well. That was
Oh,
the first
so that
season.
that could have been title number 5 for you.
Yeah, that would have been number 5. And if I had won that season, it would have been 3 in a row because I
The
won the
mono and
prior 2
doubles.
seasons before that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that season was like, dude, it took me like again. I know winning and losing is part of this game, but that loss, that single loss, really kind of fucked with me a little bit
Oh, I bet.
because I had, yeah, like, and the reason why it's like you're on a high, right? Like, I won the past 2 seasons. I'm on the 3rd season. I'm literally in the semifinals. I'm like a couple plays away from winning the semifinals, going to the finals again for the 3rd time in a row. And then I missed the move, bro. And like, again, I haven't really. It's not that I don't miss overheat. I miss overheat, but I don't miss it on crucial like turns where it'll decide the game. So James literally, he literally, went to finals with a 10% roll over a 90% roll, and because of that, I was just like really just like I was fucked. I was in a bad headspace for a good couple days, and then the draft came, and that was the next season, and that season I lost my first game against Jesse,
Oh my
because we were in the same
god.
division. Yeah, and it was like week 1. I lost week 1, and it was a close game too. Like, and I just like he outplayed me. He played very well, and like I was like fuck, bro. And it was like week 2. I'm like, you know what, fuck this. Like I'm just not gonna like I'm not gonna like prep because I was already like busy and I was like starting a new job and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, all right, like I'm just gonna I'm gonna do what I do best and just look at stuff 5 minutes before and play for it because again I always play for playoffs and you guys know this.
Mm-hmm.
Once I get into playoffs, then then I start analyzing my opponents a bit more. So I did that for the next 11 weeks and I won all 11 games straight in a row.
Oh my god, I forgot you did that.
Yeah, and I won 11-1. Jesse was the only loss main season, and then Eric was the only one I didn't want to play against. And in hindsight, I probably should have made sure I lost a couple games towards the end because that would have probably ensured that I didn't play against Eric because he barely crept in. I was number 1 seed. He barely crept in to the 8th seed. But the issue with that was he had down to the T, his team it was like a direct counter team.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember Ant and I looked at this team. We're like, yo, like there's really you can't do much. And like outside of hacks and just like mind games, like those could only go so far. But I like inherently he's gonna win. He has an inherently better team, and I just couldn't do much against it. And like I was the first round exit, and I was fine with it because I knew I couldn't do anything. My hands were really tied. I did give him a really good battle though. There was actually a point where I almost would have won, but he just came out like he had the Volcarona and the Zygarde, and my team I didn't have anything to deal with it properly. So that was my exit that season. But yeah, that was the last time I really dominated the main season, and I've done it in the past too. Like I've had number one seeds. I've had like I think 3 or 4 more beforehand. So, but one thing is I know is I don't want to. It's not that I don't want to do that again. I don't want to go undefeated
Mm-hmm.
because I think when you go undefeated, you kind of lose track of how good you really are and how good your team really is.
I can confirm that is
And
exactly what happened to me last season.
yeah, and like it's you don't even actually, dude, you don't even need to go undefeated. Like if you win, like if you lose, like for me, for example, right? If, sorry, if I lose my first one, right, and I win 11 in a row, by like the 7th, 8th game, you're on this high where it's like, all right, like I have a really good team, I could win this entire thing. And when you haven't lost in a while, it kind of it doesn't really it gets to you a little bit, and it doesn't set realistic expectations of losing. So it's good to win 3 games, then lose 1 game, win
Oh
4 games,
yeah.
then lose 1 game. So that kind of keeps you in check in a mental capacity.
Oh for
Because a
sure.
lot of this game is and a lot of this game it's very mental. And I was actually I was gonna talk about just the mental taxing how taxing mentally the game is. Um, because just prepping for somebody, and again, we're all very hyper competitive individuals. We're all, we prep our asses off. Like we do mock games. We build 5 different teams. Um, and like it's just mentally taxing, and just the time that you put into just playing, and especially in playoffs, it's not always a great thing for your stress levels. So that's one thing that I like towards the end, that gives me closure. It's like, all right, like season's ending, and I kind of look forward to the off season. I kind of look forward to like the 1 month that we have all of just or just sitting just in the chat, just talking about random shit, um, and just not doing anything. So I think with this league, we have a really good balance of that, and we're starting back up to where the stress is gonna come out. And I think out of all the seasons, this is gonna be the most stressful because we have a lot coming at us. So we'll see. We'll definitely see.
All right. I think that is a good point for us to start to wrap things up. Before we do you have any other final thoughts you'd like to share? Things you want to say?
Uh, Final thoughts. I mean, I'm looking forward to the season, man. I know I said I didn't want to talk about my team, but I like the team. I'm really confident in it. So I think I might be able to go a little far,
Mm-hmm.
but we'll see. But again, everybody has a really good team. I think what it comes down to this season too is it'll come down to how well you know your opponent, because we all know each other, very well. At least most of us. So, and everyone's team is, good. So it'll come down to like how well you know your opponent and how well you think you could play. And then obviously that's like 70%. The other 30% is just going to be hacks and things
Mm-hmm.
outside of your control. So,
Right on.
but yeah, no, I'm just glad to be here, man. Like I'm, just trying to keep it low key, just not really, say much or do anything
For
crazy
sure.
or flash any crazy sets. But I'm just looking forward to the season. Again, I'm just whether I go X and 5, X and 10, as long as I make playoffs,
Yeah, as
I'm
long as you
good.
make playoffs, it doesn't matter. I think that's the mantra to have.
Yeah. And I think so far on this ending note, I think not to toot my own horn, but I think I'm the only player who've had um who've made playoffs every season. I mean, more than 2 seasons, I guess, like minimum if you're here.
Yeah.
Um,
I think I've only missed out on 2, and one of those was doubles.
yeah. So though the doubles and the monos, it was interesting because there were gimmicks, and I'm not really fond of gimmicks. If it was up to me, we wouldn't have any gimmicks.
I
Um,
agree.
but those seasons were interesting too, and those seasons, to me, I think I was listening to one of the interviews. You're like, you might not count those two championships, but
Oh, I count
they
mono
really count.
100%. I count mono 100%. The only reason I don't count doubles is because most of the people participating didn't count double, didn't want to do it, and
Yeah, that's fair.
didn't like it, and it was something none of us had to do. So it was just a matter of who adapted the quickest. Which in that sense, yeah, it counts. But I mean, in terms of like the one we all took seriously, that I think that was a season very few of us actually took seriously.
I think a lot of people actually take it seriously. I mean,
I didn't.
I think that season, that season, like Quinn, yeah, Quinn made finals.
Yeah, it was you and Quentin.
James was on a roll. I don't know if you remember James. This man
James
James
was
had
on a
like
roll. Jeff
he
just was
had
doing different. Jeff was doing decently.
yeah Jeff was on a roll. I think the final four was me, Quinn, Jeff, and James.
Probably
But yeah,
was.
that season was also very stressful. I think that season took the most skill, if anything, because
Because we all had
doubles
to
was
adapt.
exactly like we had to adapt, and then monos came out of nowhere too, and it was like shit, we're not going regular style not decks anymore. We're going straight to mono, and the thing with mono, that was also interesting because it's like you're drafting a monotype, and then your season depending on the two darker fairy types that you picked, and that's really that's what happened to me. Like I drafted Tyranitar and Feeny, and those
And like,
reacted.
yeah.
Yeah, they reacted really well to my monograph. So, but yeah, I mean, going forward, I think we'll all just have fun this season. I don't think anyone's gonna really shine, and I know we said that a lot, but we'll see. It'll be interesting, and hopefully, we'll have this conversation again in 12 weeks. So,
Yeah, I'm sure we will be.
yeah, hopefully, yeah. But yeah, man.
Well, thanks for joining me, Renny. I'm glad your AirPods didn't die.
Yeah, bro. I'm always glad to hop on with you, dude. It's
Oh yeah,
always
for
fun to
sure.
talk.
Always a good time. I'm looking forward
Yeah,
to doing this again in 12 weeks.
yeah. Hopefully.
So thank you to everyone who tuned in. There's only one more interview to go after this one, so I hope you're all eagerly awaiting it because this man might be the most mysterious in NPBF. Uh,
Oh no.
but until then, week one's almost here. I hope everyone's excited. I know we are.
Yep. See you guys.
Yeah. So stay excited.